Sidebar is the official podcast of the Napa County District Attorney's Office. Hello, everyone. This is Carlos Villatoro with the Sidebar Podcast, the official podcast of the Napa County District Attorney's Office. And today on the Sidebar Podcast, we have Jessica Solano. She is the forensic interviewer over at the Courage Center. And this is her second time on the Sidebar Podcast. Welcome.
Thank you for having me on again.
And thank you for making the time to come on the Sidebar Podcast to talk about a very important subject. Now, Jessica just got back from Sacramento, meeting with lawmakers and going to a conference, learning about child abuse and how to prevent it. Is that correct? How did it go over there?
It was good. It was a 2-day conference, and they host it once a year, and it's for all of the child advocacy centers in California. So we all meet once a year. We get to network and learn new things.
That is great. And so the reason that we have Jessica here on the Sidebar Podcast is because it is Child Abuse Prevention Month. Now, this is a good time of the month to reflect on this horrible crime, a crime that we often see here in Napa County. And Jessica is considered someone who is on the front line of this important topic, this topic that we deal with here at the DA's office. Now, Jessica, tell us, how long have you been a forensic interview with the office?
It's going to be about 2 years in June, so almost there. Yeah. Well,
it seems like only yesterday that you started.
It feels like I've been here for a while, for a long time. Yeah.
Now, throughout the course of your time here, how many interviews have you conducted with children and teenagers?
I think now, since I started here in Napa County, it's been over 150 interviews.
150 interviews within 2 years,
children,
guys.
Yes.
That's sad.
Yeah.
To me, that's a sad statistic, but it's such an important work that you're doing, and it's much needed, especially when it comes to seeking justice for these victims.
Yes, definitely.
So I mean, it's a reality here in Napa. Unfortunately, it's something that happens everywhere. But here in Napa, we are taking steps to help victims and seek justice for them. And so I wanted to ask you, when you're talking to a child who has may have been assaulted, what do you focus on to be as supportive as possible and to make them feel safe?
Yeah, well, every child is different, but I feel like taking the time to build rapport with each child is very important. Ensuring that you can engage in conversations with them about their interests and, things that they like to do or activities that they like to do. And it also gives them the opportunity to talk about experiences or a recent event that doesn't have to do with the disclosure. So definitely building rapport with a child is extremely important. I think also active listening while you're in the interview with them is also extremely important. Paying attention to their nonverbal cues, their verbal cues, making sure that you're not projecting your own insecurities, your own stress, your own nervousness onto them or in the interview, right? Because it can shut them down as well. So I think that's also very important when talking to a child who has experienced any type of trauma.
Yeah, and I can imagine the kind of conversations that you have and the kind of emotions in that room. It's all about making sure that the child is in a safe environment. Definitely. And it feels safe to talk to you. Is that correct?
Yes, I think another important thing is to be honest with them. Sometimes I've experienced situations where they ask me certain questions that I don't know, like how to answer, or maybe I don't have the information to give them in that time. So just making sure that you're honest with them about what you know and making sure that they get their questions answered, even if it's after the interview.
And it's a very delicate balance that you have to maintain there, because you are entrusted with gathering information that is used in prosecution against the people who are accused of these crimes. But at the same time, you have to create a feeling of emotional safety for the children and the teenagers that you talk to. So as a forensic interviewer, and for somebody who isn't involved in this field, how do you balance it? How do you make sure that they're safe while trying to get the information from them?
Yeah. So I think there's maybe a misunderstanding or misconception about what a forensic interview is. So with us, it's extremely important that a child comes to a child advocacy center when we can provide a physically and psychologically safe environment for them to talk to about these types of things. And I think, like I mentioned earlier, remaining calm in the situation, making sure that they have everything that they need. In an interview, the child is never pressured to disclose or made to feel like they're being forced to disclose something. If they're overly distressed, they're able to take a break during the interview. If they want to come back a different time to talk, then that's definitely okay. So just being aware of what the child needs is very important.
Now, talking to police is always intimidating, especially for a child who, may not know who a stranger is, or, just the uniform itself can be, intimidating to be in. And I can, for no fault of the officers at all, because they are trying to do a job and everything. It's intimidating, walking into a police station, sitting down with somebody with a uniform, and it's like, oh, am I in trouble? So I can see where that lighter, softer approach, especially when talking to teens and young children, how effective that can be. So in your role as a forensic interviewer, how do you work in conjunction with law enforcement and with child advocacy centers? Yeah,
so the forensic interview is one component of a comprehensive child abuse investigation. And it's not just limited to law enforcement. And child welfare services, prosecutors attend, victim advocates, medical and mental health practitioners are able to attend. And most of the time, the forensic interview is the first step in an investigation, but it can provide a different direction for the people who are involved in the investigation to see what next steps they can take.
So what do you think people often misunderstand about these kind of cases, and especially what the children and teenagers are going through when they have been sexually assaulted?
Yeah. So I think one misconception is that the forensic interview or a child, or every forensic interview or every child is the same. So many influences affect how a child experiences abuse or trauma, how they communicate that, how they encode it.
The ages too, I imagine.
Yes, right? Definitely. So no two children will ever come to the Courage Center and talk to me and relay the information with the same amount of detail and clarity. So everyone's different. No two interviews will ever be the same. I think another misconception is that a child who comes in and is reluctant to disclose is lying, or maybe if they come and disclose and they recant, then that means that they're lying. Many things can affect that. As many of us know, offenders most of the time are related to these children,
or know them in some way.
Yes, right? Definitely. Yeah. So even with recantation, many children feel pressured after they have disclosed something, and like I said earlier, it might be because their offender is related to them. That may cause stress on their parents, or maybe a family breakdown. So now they want to come back and recant, which would be an attempt of them to try to make things go back to normal. So I think those are a few big misconceptions that people have.
The emotional maturity of a child and isn't the same as an adult. And
no.
A lot of the times they might not understand what happened to them.
No.
So it's hard for them to explain. And
yes. Yeah.
Absolutely. This is a very heavy job that you do for the Napa County District Attorney's Office. So what keeps you going? What gives you hope?
Yeah, I feel like I find hope in the resilience and strength of the children and teenagers that I interview. They show me that just because they've experienced something like this, or they come and talk to me about it, their lives don't stop. They have school the next day. They have school trips that they have to go on. They have clubs and sports and all of this. Yes, definitely homework.
Yes.
So just seeing them, not allowing this to set them back and continuing with their lives inspires me to keep going, and kind of helps me want to improve my skills in the field that I do to keep helping other children.
Yeah, you know, and every time I learn of any kind of abuse against a child like that, and, you know, it comes up, as I said, all the time here at the DA's office.
Yeah.
You know, it kind of puts things in perspective, and all of a sudden, all the little problems I'm dealing with aren't so big anymore. They're not so big anymore.
That's very true. Yeah.
Yeah. So okay. So great. Jessica, is there anything to add?
I don't think so. I just want to thank you for having me on the podcast and bringing awareness to Child Abuse Prevention Month, which happens every April. And yeah, that's it.
Well, thank you very much for joining us on the Sidebar Podcast. And if you want to know more, connect with us on our social media platforms. We have a Facebook, a Twitter, and a YouTube channel, which we will post this podcast on. And don't forget to subscribe to the channel, leave a like, and drop a comment. And until the next time, we will see you on the Sidebar Podcast.